welcome to Brent Owens, MasterChef Australia winner. On the count of three. 3, 2, 1. Brent!
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me again. This is my third one for the day, so it's been a big day, but nonetheless, been very exciting. Have we seen any of the other shows? Yes, no, yeah, couple of yeses, couple of nos. That's all good. Well, this one is something a little bit different. For those who watch MasterChef would know that I certainly wasn't a professional at desserts. I actually sucked at them. So I've spent a bit of time learning about desserts, practicing with desserts, and trying a few interesting desserts. So this one is a take on what we would probably all know as an apple crumble. Yeah? Do you have apple crumble here? Yeah? Do you all eat apple crumble? So now you know what to expect. So when I fail miserably, you can judge me on it. So did we all watch MasterChef? Yeah? Who was your favourite? Sure. Come on, one person. Who wanted somebody else to win? One. Out. No, I'm joking. Who did you want to win? Sarah Todd. Yeah, of course. Everybody that I've met who are a male wanted Sarah Todd to win. Funny that, isn't it? It's no, she's a great cook too. She's really good. Did we all like MasterChef? Yeah. Excited for season 7? You should be. It's almost finished in Australia actually. Season 7. You're watching it. Who do you think will win? It's not finished. Not finished. I know who wins because I filmed the finale, but I'm not going to tell you. You think Billy? Okay. I'm not going to tell you. And I'm not even going to look at you because I don't want to give anything away. No. All right, let's go. Let's get started. All right, this dish is not a deconstruction of an apple crumble by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the ingredients, the flavour compound in an apple crumble that I am not reinventing it, but doing something a little bit different. So we've got a little crumble over here, which is quite basic. Does everybody know how to make just a quick basic crumble? Yeah? No? It's up to you what you put in it. Honestly, this one's just got some macadamia nuts, which is, I guess, the Aussie classic nut. We have beautiful Australian macadamia nuts. We've got some rolled oats. We've got some flour. There's a little bit of butter and some brown sugar. So just mix all that together, lay it on a tray, put it in the oven, 180 degrees, take about 12 minutes. It'll start to colour up like this, and that's all it is. You can add a little bit of maple syrup in that too, and it adds a beautiful flavour. It's has anybody ever had an Anzac biscuit? You've had one up the back. Does anybody know what an Anzac biscuit is? So in Australia we have a day to celebrate the Anzacs through war. And we've got a biscuit that is, I guess, the national biscuit for Anzac Day. It's what we do to donate money back to the diggers, back to the soldiers who sacrificed themselves for our country and for us to have freedom. So this is pretty much what an Anzac biscuit is, if anybody would like to try it. Completely up to you. Don't rush too fast. It's, it's really simple. It's very crunchy, but that's a little bit of a taste of Australia. We have that very often back at home. So that crumble, that's all that is. Very, very simple. We've also got a little muffin that is an oat and maple muffin. Something a little bit different. Again, reiterating those flavours of the apple crumble. We've got the maple syrup, we've got some brown sugar, we've got some flour, we've got some butter, and obviously some oats. Just bake those in the oven. And what you get there, you get a very dense muffin. You don't want it to be too packed full of flavour, and you don't want it to be too moist. The reason why is because we're going to soak that in a syrup. So I'm going to make a sugar syrup of apple juice, which is very, very sweet. So you don't need to add sugar to it like you would a basic sugar syrup of sugar and water. Reduce this down, so you put this into a pot, and you just want to cook that down for around 10 minutes. I've got one that we've already done. Cook that down for around 10 minutes, and what you do there, with any sort of syrup, with any sort of juice, by cooking it down, you evaporate, all the steam is evaporating the liquid. And because there's a lot of sugar in there, it's intensifying the flavour. So essentially, you're making a toffee out of apple juice, which sounds really weird, but that's what you're doing. And that's really, really sweet, really, really intense. And then when that's just pulled out of the oven, you want to pour a little bit of that syrup over the muffin, and then the muffin, while it's still warm, will suck all those flavours in. So whenever you're adding a syrup to a muffin, to a cake, whatever it may be, it's important to do it with either the syrup nice and hot or the muffin nice and hot. So that way it sucks it all in. If I just poured that on now, it would just go over the top and make the top soggy. So that's a little trick. And now I want to get started on our ice cream. So we all love ice cream. All desserts should have ice cream, I think. And this one's a little bit different. Have we ever heard of brown butter ice cream? Yeah? We've got a couple of nods, a couple of shakes again. So it's really simple. You can buy clarified butter if you want, which is ghee. You can buy that in most stores. Do you use ghee much here? Yeah, you do? It's very common in Indian cuisine. So I just want to heat up a small pot. So this butter, to clarify butter, do we know what clarifying butter is? So butter, when you melt it, it's got milk solids in it. So if I was to let that sit, all the milk solids will burn, and when they start to colour, that's what makes brown butter, because it's caramelising the milk solids. But you want to strain those out because they're a little bit grainy. So once that's caramelised and once it's started to colour, I'm going to pour that over a strainer, and the milk solids will get caught in the top, and then the liquid that we reserve down the bottom is essentially our ghee, our browned butter. So I'm just going to add the butter to the pan. Let that cook down. Now you don't want to take your eye off this once it's melted, because once it starts to caramelise, the butter and the ghee is already quite warm, so it keeps going. Just like it would be if you were making a caramel or a toffee, you need to keep your eye on it because it continues to cook, because the pot's hot, the ghee's already hot, and the milk solids will continue to cook. So that once that's done, we'll pour that out and set that aside to cool down a little bit. If I was to add this directly into our ice cream mixture, it could split the mixture because the eggs will curdle. Do we know how to make ice cream? Yeah? I would like somebody with their hands, put their hand up, who doesn't know how to make ice cream. Yeah? All right, there's a few too many. So I'm going to turn around, and when I turn back, the first person I see with their hand up can come up and help me. You ready? On 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. All right, up straight away. Up you come. With the beanie, come on. High expectation though, because now you actually have to make the ice cream. And we've only got one batch, so if it doesn't work, demonstration destroyed. So up you come. Hi, how are you? Brent. Nice to meet you. Shireen, round of applause for Shireen, please. All right, so you've never made ice cream before? Have you ever made custard before? No? Perfect. That's what we want. So for our ice cream, we're going with 1 part milk, 1 part cream, and then because it's brown butter, we want to go with some sugar. This is brown sugar. In a regular ice cream base, I would use caster sugar, but because we want that rich maple molassesy type flavour, I'm using the brown sugar. So what we want to do is, my dear, up you come. Are you nervous? Yes, I am. You should be. No, it'll be fine. So what you want to do is you want to put the milk and the cream into the pot, and you want to gently bring that up to temperature. You don't, yeah, in it goes, it's cold. You don't want to boil it. You don't want to scald the milk. You just want to gently heat it to warm it up, and then we'll give that a whisk through. So I'll put that on. Actually, before we start that, you can see here that I've got a big gas hob. If I'm to put that on there, you're going to heat up the sides really quickly, and you're going to lose control of the temperature. So always think about that. I'll go on a smaller gas hob. I want to go temperature on, just on a medium temperature, and we'll slowly let that come up to heat. Meanwhile, you've got another job. Are you strong? Do you work out? You're freakishly strong. All right, well, I'm going to put you to the test then. In this bowl, we want to cream our egg whites and our sugar. So you want to put your egg whites into the bowl with that sugar, egg yolks, sorry, with the sugar. Oh, you've got whisks. Perfect. So yolks go into the bowl. Just give those a scrape out. And then sugar can go in. And what you want to do is, you want to start dissolving that sugar. You want to cream the mixture so it's nice and light. So sugar can go in. Just put a little half of that in. Yep, perfect. And then you want to whisk the absolute hell out of it. So you whisk as hard and as fast as you can. Yep, until that's nice and light. So it will start to change colour. It'll start to aerate. Perfect. So I'll let that go. You're right to keep an eye on that. As soon as the bubbles start to form around the sides, we'll turn it off. So you can see now that our butter has melted, but you can still see it's a very yellow colour. As that continues to cook, it'll start to go a little bit darker. That's the milk solids starting to cook. So I want to turn our ice cream machine on. That'll start churning. Essentially, this ice cream base, has anybody made custard, or do we love eating custard? You're making a custard first, and that's your base. So if you wanted to just have custard, do this same principle and change the brown sugar for white sugar. It's very simple. If you want to make vanilla custard, add vanilla pod into the milk mixture. If you want to make basil ice cream, you put some basil into this milk, let it infuse, and that's the same. If you want to make coffee ice cream, put some roasted coffee beans into this milk mixture, let it sit for 10 minutes and then strain it out and continue on. So it's all about a base, and it's the same with something like a panna cotta. If you want to do a panna cotta, you do this same milk mixture and then you add gelatin to it. So for me, food and cooking is all about understanding the basics, why we do things, how it all goes together, and then you can start building, start creating, start becoming inventive with it all. Because if you don't know the fundamentals, if you don't know how something is built, how something is made up, then you can't really become creative because you don't know how it works, if you know what I mean. It's like riding a bike. You start with the training wheels on, and then you build and build and end up with a Harley, and then you go from I'm at the Harley stage now. So that milk's coming up. How are we looking? How's the arm? Keeping up? All right. Keep going then. Keep going. Our butter's starting to colour nicely. Also with this dish, we've got some poached apple. So it's very simple, just a regular Granny Smith apple, a cooking apple. I'm using this because it holds its shape a lot better. Other apples tend to fall apart. This is a better cooking apple. I've literally put that into a pot, covered it with apple juice. Covered it, and then cook that and let that poach for around 10 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes, just until it's soft to touch. You can see that's nice and soft, but it's still quite firm in the middle, so it'll still hold its shape. Now to present this, I'm going to make it look a little bit different. So I'm going to slice the apple in half. I'm going to use my trusty little cookie cutter just to remove the outer skin. Get that out. Then we got a nice little piece of poached apple. I've got my little muffin here, which I'm just going to cut the top off. Another little trick, especially for pastry chefs, what they do is when they present food and they trim food, how's that? Yeah, that's looking good. They trim muffins, they trim cakes. Don't throw this away. Try not to waste anything. So what you can do with this, you can put this in a food processor, blitz it up, then lay that on a tray and dehydrate that in the oven, and then you've got another element of a crumble. You've got crumbs. You can use that for a lot of things. So our butter is nice and melted. Just going to turn up the heat a little bit. Our milk's coming up to the boil. Now, making custard, people are scared because it's very easy to curdle the mixture. So you just want to be gentle with it. You don't want that to be boiling. If I was to add boiling custard into the egg mixture, it will split. And if it splits, you start again. So I'll bring that up to temperature. I'll let it sit for a minute, and then we'll continue on. You don't even need to whisk anymore. I'm just seeing how strong you are. That's really hard now. I told you. You're hot. You told me that you were super strong. You are. You are. No, you've done a fantastic job. So you can stay up here if you want. And you can continue making our custard.
Okay.
So that's coming up to temperature now. It's not quite warm enough, so I'll let that sit for a little bit more. Also with this dish, we've got some pickled apple. So generally, pickled apple wouldn't go in a dessert. It sounds a bit strange. But when you've got flavours that are really rich, like caramel and butter, muffins, sugar, you want something to cut through all of that richness. And often now, with desserts, especially in Australia, we're using a lot of savoury elements in them to balance them out, to make them a little bit more interesting and a little bit more fun. So for this mixture, I've just got some apple juice, some apple cider vinegar, and I've just cooked that down. I've brought that up to the boil and added our apple in and just let it sit, and that's exactly what you get. You get pickled apple. So it's a nice crunch. You get the flavour of apple, but then you get a little bit of acidity to carry through. So that's our pickled apple. So far we've got pickled apple, we've got our reduced syrup, we've got our muffin, we've got our poached apple, and then we've got a little salted caramel. Do we all know how to make salted caramel? Do we know what salted caramel is? Do you know how to make toffee? So, sugar, good job. Sugar, cook that down, add some cream, add some salt, done. A little bit of butter and you're done. Milk mixture now, you can see it's starting to steam. So it's hot, it's not boiling yet. So I'm going to put that off. We're going to get ready for the most crucial part. So, are you ready? Are you going to take a risk? Do you think it's too hot or do you think it's okay?
I think it's okay.
You think it's okay? All right. No, I trust you. I trust you. So, you're in charge now. I want you to start whisking this. We're going to slowly add our milk mixture, a little bit at a time. So if I was to add all of this, it's very hot, so you'll scramble the eggs, and nobody wants scrambled eggs with their dessert. How's that looking? It's not scrambled?
Good.
Okay, now we can keep adding more. Give that a whisk. Good job. Now we can add this back into the pot. All of that. Go for it. So what you're doing now is you're just cooking off the egg now. As it cooks off, it will get a little bit thicker, but you want to be careful because if the eggs get too hot, again, they'll scramble. A little trick with eggs, if you do scramble them, if you're making a mayonnaise and it doesn't come together, it's all about how can I fix it. So if you add a little bit of cold cream, blitz it with a food processor with something like this, blitz it, it should come back together. If not, we start again. Only we can sit here for another 45 minutes while we make another batch of ice cream. So we'll let that. You want to swap your whisk for a wooden spoon. The easiest way, not a wooden spoon, a spatula, sorry. The easiest way to tell if your custard is ready is to put it on the side. You want to run your finger through and you want it to hold its shape. See how it's running down a lot? It's not quite ready. So I'll let you stay in charge of that.
Okay.
You sure?
Should I continue stirring?
Yeah, keep mixing it around. Our apple's there. Can you see here that this butter has changed colour? It's starting to go nice and amber, nice and golden. We just want to strain that off now, which will catch all of those milk solids. Just let that sit. And we're almost ready to assemble. I've just got one more element to show you, which is my favourite element of the whole dish. It's called an apple air. And you can do this with anything. This is really cool. So this is made from apple juice. You can substitute it for beetroot juice. You can substitute it for fennel juice, carrot juice, any juice. And it's really, really interesting. We've got apple juice. We've got some sugar. We've got a tiny bit of lime juice. And then we've got gelatin. That's it, 4 ingredients. If you don't have lime juice, if you don't have lemon juice, you can use a little bit of citric acid, if you know what that is, if you can get that here. Can you get citric acid? Yeah? Citric acid is great. It adds a little bit of acidity without the properties of this. How's that looking? That's good. Another good way to tell if your custard's almost about to scramble, but it's cooked, is to tilt the pot up, and what will happen is you'll see it to start curdle on the bottom. That's a good sign. We're not quite there yet. So I'm just going to take that out. I'm going to add in some more. Oh, that's really hot. Some sugar into that. This is just the apple juice, regular apple juice like this. I'm going to add in a little bit of lime juice. Just a little bit. You don't want to be heavy-handed with lime or lemon if you're using gelatin. It retards the mixture. So if you're ever making a jelly, if you're ever making something with gelatin and you're using an acid like lemon juice or like lime juice and it doesn't set, that's because the acid has retarded it and it won't work. So if you're using acid, if you're using lime juice or lemon juice and you're trying to make a jelly, use agar-agar. It's a lot easier. You happy with that? You think it's cooked? If it's not cooked, we may get sick if there's something wrong with the eggs.
I trust you.
I'm trusting you because I'm not watching it. So I'll show you with a little trick. The back of the spoon, dip it in, rub your finger along it. Do you think that's ready? No, it's not ready. So a little bit further, a little bit more. I'll turn the heat up a little bit. And as soon as that's done, we're pretty much ready to assemble once I finish this gelatin mixture. So anybody got some questions on MasterChef itself? Any behind the scenes, any bits of the nitty gritties that you would like to know? Because there are plenty. Don't be shy.
Now's your chance.
Okay.
There we go.
Brent, do you still sleep in onesies?
Do I sleep in onesies? Yes. No, I mean, it's cold in winter. We want to snug up. We keep warm. It's, every guy in this room is probably secretly thinking, oh, I wish I had a onesie. But they're just too scared to say it. Trust me. Well, it's a good thing. And don't be shy. It's good. It's actually weird that on the show, I had two onesies. One of them was very thick, very warm, and it just so happened the night before was a bit warmer, so I didn't wear that one. It would have been a lot funnier if I was wearing that onesie because it's bright pink, it's a panda outfit, it's got little ears on the head, and it zips the whole way up. So that would have been a lot more interesting if I walked out and Heston was sitting there and I was dressed as a pink panda. So I'm glad it was the blue one with wolves on it.
Okay, this might be like a filming secret that you're not allowed to disclose, but
Probably. If you're thinking it is, it probably is.
okay.
But I might tell you anyway.
Because they have these interviews with you whilst you're still cooking, and I don't understand how you keep a straight face because it's obviously after the cook. So how do you say, oh, and then it was going really well or was going really badly, but you know how it turned out?
That
How
is
does that
actually very, 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 very difficult. What you do is you film the week of TV, and then on a Friday or a Saturday, we would gather up our clothes for the whole week. We would go to the studio, have photos each morning of what we're wearing, and then we would have to pretend that we were back in that moment. So, like for instance now, that custard's about to split and become scrambled eggs. So if I was sitting there, they'd be like, okay, go back to that moment. I'll be like, and I was cooking the custard and it turned into scrambled eggs and then I didn't know what to do and this could be an absolute disaster when it was like 5 days later. So it's a bit weird, but that's sort of how it works. There's no other way to do it. So there's a little bit of acting in the sense, but it's strange when you put yourself back into that time, when you put yourself back into how stressed you were, how much anxiety you had, you fall back into character really easily. So it was tough in the beginning, but over time you learn to put yourself in that space.
Sorry. Could you have already, you obviously not, but other contestants, could they have already been eliminated by that point? So then so they're having the interview.
I can watch the show now, and this is with a lot of reality TV shows. I can watch them. You tell me. I can watch them, and I can pick up from watching their interview whether or not they've been eliminated or not. So keep an eye on it. You pick up on people's personalities and how they change, and if they say, "And I think this dish is going to be really good today," generally they've been kicked out. So there's a little treat. For when you're watching next time, you'll be like, they're gone. They're gone. So how's that looking?
Please check it. I'm getting
turn the heat up. No, it's not quite there. Still not quite there. See, the bubbles have subsided and it's nice and flat. That's an indication it's close. I'm going to add my gelatin into this mixture now. This is just apple juice and sugar. You want to add your gelatin. That will dissolve almost instantly because it dissolves at room temperature. Give that a little whisk through. It's important when you're using fruit juices or different juices in your cooking to not boil them a lot. If you boil them a lot, and you will lose a lot of the flavour, unless you're trying to intensify the sweetness. So let that melt through. Now it's as simple as, what will happen is, do we know how gelatin works? What it does? It sets things like a jelly. So because it sets under room temperature, when you're whisking it in this bowl, it's cooling down. And as it's cooling down and you're whisking it like a meringue, you're putting air into it, okay? So it's getting aerated, it's building, and then it's cooling down at the same time. So as it's building, it's setting. So you'll whisk it, and that's what you'll get, which looks like meringue, but essentially it's apple juice. So if I taste that now, tastes like apple juice. Do you want to try some? If you're going to split my custard. You're close? You're confident? See how it's thickened up a lot now? You can see it's really close now. It's thickened up a lot. You want to do the back of the spoon trick? Now give it a wipe. We good? See how it's holding shape? And it's nice and thick now. That's done. So that's finished, that's cooked. That there is what custard is. So you add vanilla to that, you've got vanilla custard. I'm going to add our strained off brown butter. You can see the milk solids have been captured in the bottom in our hairnet strainer. I'm going to add our ice cream to our ice cream machine. Now, if you were in a rush or if you're on MasterChef, you would whisk this over a bowl of iced water just to cool it down really quickly. You can do that if you want. If not, just pour it in. And let that churn. And you can see, like I was saying it before, you can see it's starting to curdle at the bottom. You can see the little bits, the little chunks. That means it's starting to split. So that's done. We'll slowly pour in our brown butter. You just want about half of this. Put our lid on. Let that churn. And that is essentially what brown butter ice cream is. Very, very simple. We've got our air. I just want to give this another quick whisk. You can come back over. Your job's not done yet. Not yet? All right. I'm just going to scoop some of this in. Do we have a spoon? Yeah, no, this will do. This will do. So I just want to scoop this out. Do you want to plate this up for me? You don't want to? No, but that's you practice. All right. Do we have another plate? Yep, perfect. I'll guide you through it, but essentially it's up to you. Yeah? No, you got to be confident, and that's with food. When I started to get good and make things look pretty, it's because I did it with confidence. You know, people can see straight through someone if they're putting on an appearance, if they're faking something, if they're not confident. And trust me, I know you can do it. I saw you cook that custard. You were keeping an eye on it. You were doing a fantastic job. I'm serious. And if you do this with confidence, I can guarantee you everybody in this room will think it will look incredible. So be strong, be confident, and you can do it. So what we want to do first, I can let you start plating this. We want our poached apple in the center of the dish. Yep, we want to add a little bit of our caramel into the center. So we've got that's the caramel. We've got our core taken out, and essentially you've got a little carrier. So by adding the caramel in the center, you're having caramel on the inside, and when you cut into it, it's almost like a fondant. Yep, Perfect. We've got our muffin that we've soaked. I'm just going to trim that so it's nice and round. Our muffin can go over the top of that. You tell me, you're plating it. We want to add... It's going to be covered up anyway, so I wouldn't be too fussed. We want to add some... This is dehydrated apple, so essentially you just cut off cheeks of apple. You can dehydrate it in the oven overnight at about 90 degrees, the lowest setting that your oven goes to. So we'll add up, just tear a few of those up, and we'll add some dehydrated apple. We've got our pickled apple, remember? So you want this to be in there whenever you want, up to you. You want this to be in there, but you don't want big chunks of it. If you have big chunks of it, it'll overpower each element. I'm not looking at you, but I'm trusting you're doing a good job. Is she doing a good job? Yeah? All right, so we want little bits of pickled apple all around there. Perfect. No, you're doing a top job. So we want our pickled apple around there. You tell me. You think about if you were eating this dish, okay, you want to slice into it. Each mouthful, each piece you have, you want to have a mouthful of everything. So you want enough of this so that every mouthful you have, you can get a little bit. So do you think that you'll be able to get...
I think so.
Yeah? Sure. Perfect. All right, so we've got to go a pickled apple to go on, which is here, and little bits there. We want some fresh apple to go on. You can do that however you want. How's she doing? Is she doing good? Yeah, that's fine. There's no right or wrong. You're doing this. Just need to mash this up a little bit. This is the air that's set, but I just want to mash it so it's a bit more pliable. You can put this in a food processor and blitz it, and it'll become nice and smooth like a meringue again. You good? Do you think it needs a bit more caramel on it? Do you think that will be a little bit dry? Some more. You think more caramel? All right, perfect. Goes for some more caramel. All right, we want a little spoon. You good? Do you want to try this? See, that looks like a cake, doesn't it? Like half-cooked cake batter. Try that. You tell me. You taste it and you tell me what you think it is. Perfect. That's apple. Does someone want to try this? No? No, don't be too enthusiastic. If someone wants to try it, come down. I'll get some spoons.
Okay, who would like to try? Come on up.
So I'll give you... Do you want to squeeze that up and put that around the plate? How many spoons have we got? Just grab it. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, just grab little bits of it. So you'll get, as it slowly dissolves, you'll get more and more apple flavour.
It's really good.
Yeah?
That's good.
You get apple? Yeah. Yeah, no, what we're going to do now, we're going to use this crumble and we're going to cover the whole thing. So remember that pile of dirt I did on the show? Did you watch the show? Actually, that looks pretty the way it is. Yeah, that's what that is.
Mmm. Oh, it's really good, actually. Megan, the Brent's recipe.
Yeah, sure.
No, you had to come up here.
All right, now we want to finish this off. So at the moment, I think it looks beautiful the way it is, but now we're just going to completely destroy it and cover the whole thing. You happy with that? All right, you can do it. Go on. Be confident. Now, this is the part you need to be confident. When you're doing things with plating up and you're putting a load of mess on, you want it to be an artistic plate of mess. There you go. I'll probably do double that. Go double. And then we want a little bit more caramel. If you try and do something gentle that needs to be rough, it's not going to work. You need to be confident. There you go. Now it looks like that pile of dirt I did, doesn't it? You might as well just use all of it. And then we've got some ice cream. I think a little bit more caramel. Well, let's be honest. If I was served that up in a restaurant, I'd probably send it back. But no, I'm joking. You've done an amazing job. That really, you've got your ice cream there that you can scoop out. Add your ice cream. Is it cold enough? Or hot enough? Yeah. And that there is... You don't need to be fancy. That is my take on an apple crumble. Something a little bit different. There's a few elements that most people wouldn't put together. There's a few elements that you've probably never heard of. But essentially, you've got the flavours of something that would remind you of an apple crumble, but it's nothing like an apple crumble. So, a round of applause here. You've done a fantastic job.
There we go.
Well done.
Awesome.
You've done an incredible job. It actually looks good. You know, in Melbourne, in Australia, I'm not joking, this is sort of the trend thing at the moment. So, not this size, they'll do it a lot smaller, but the idea of covering stuff and making a little delicate plate of food and then putting a load of crumble over it is really trendy at the moment. So I think you've done an incredible job. So hats off to you. So guys, that is my apple crumble with some burnt butter ice cream. We've got a maple oat muffin. We've got pickled apple. We've got apple air. We've got dehydrated apple. We've got fresh apple. And we've got salted caramel. So I hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for coming along. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Give it up for Brent. Brent, you back tomorrow?
I'm back tomorrow at
Awesome.
10:30.
Cool. The assistant chef, we're going to wrap this up and you can take it home with you, okay? There we go. All right, ladies and gents, thanks so much for coming out, of course, to our sponsors, Silestone, as well as Chefworks, Kenwood, Handygas, Taurus, Aquavita. Hey, sure, let's do a quick last question.
It doesn't matter.
Brent, how his life has changed since MasterChef and what he's up to these days?
Great question.
Life changed. Wow. Thinking back to before MasterChef, I was doing the same thing every day. I was driving a Bobcat, I was going to work, getting covered in dirt, working long hours. You know, it's a bit of a reality check, especially for me, that if you're not doing something you love, if you reflect back and just think about what you're doing in life and you're not happy, or if you think, oh God, I have to work today all the time, it's like, how many times can you say that without being like, all right, stuff it, I'm going to change my life, I'm going to do something different. So life is great. I'm traveling the world, I'm cooking, I'm eating, meeting people, I'm doing exciting stuff. You know, I've been to 3 different continents this year, and I've got 2 more to go to, another one to go to, so it's amazing. I'm living the dream, so to speak. Yeah.
Awesome. Big round of applause for Brent Owens. Thanks so much for coming out. Drive home safe, and if you could please exit to your left. I always get it wrong. It's like to my right, to your left. Thanks so much for coming out. We're here tomorrow again, so if you enjoyed Brent and Adriano and all of them are back tomorrow.